Hello fellow map makers, welcome to another live map making session. Hope you're all doing fine. Hope my new video setup here there is looking good. I'm a bit too far, not quite in the center of the camera I think. Let's see whether I can correct that a little bit. That might be a little bit better. Not really. Once more. Okay, sorry for that. It's a bit late to do adjustment like that at this moment, but we'll be fine here. Sound seems to be fine. People are hearing the bells. Yes, all right. We'll keep the video as it is for the moment. It's not the important thing anyway. Alright, I'm Ralf Schimmann of Pro Fantasy Software, and I'm here to show you a little bit more of our software campaign cartographer tonight, specifically the latest edition or the latest issue of our Cartographer's Annual, with an expansion to the fantasy hand-drawn style that we introduced last month. I was glad that I was able to work a little bit more on the style and add a good selection of more symbols, so we have a pretty full style here beyond what is normal for a small annual style. And I'll keep working a little bit on this even outside of the annual. I'm not going to do another issue on this. We've covered all the main bases here. But I want to expand it with little extra add-ons, little smaller ones, perhaps monthly free symbols, stuff like that. And if anyone has suggestions and wishes, what do you think is the most important thing that should be added, please post them in the chat or on our forum, and we'll collect the suggestions and I'll take them into account to make a priority list of what I want to add to the style over time. Alright, as usual, if you have any questions during the session, do please post them in the chat. I'll be happy to show anything that's possible on screen, and there's a lot of knowledgeable people around who can answer stuff about the software. And if you've got watching this later after the live session in the archives, you can always go to the Facebook group or the forum to post questions about it. We'll have locations there where you can post your questions. Apart from that, I think we're good to go, except for mentioning that you should like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you like the content. And that's it. I've got the little example map open from the June annual issue, but I'm not going to link on that. I'll show you the symbols in a moment when I'm creating the new map. And then I'll click the new map icon and not save this map. Go to the Overlands map type, decide settings myself, click next. And then find the fantasy hand-drawn style, which is hand-drawn fantasy, that way around, sorry about that. And then click next to set the size of our map. I'm going to go with the default size here, but I'll cut it down a little bit just for a smaller mapping area, so we can more easily finish something in the hour we have here on the live mapping session. So I'll just click finish here at the moment. Australian eucalyptus trees, please. Okay, yes, I'll take that into account. I've actually been to Portugal recently, and they have a lot of eucalyptus trees there. I walked beneath them on my hike, and I always love the smell of the eucalyptus trees. They do remind me of my one-time trip to Australia very much. Alright, so let's go to our new video folder It's this one here, and let's just keep the my map name, save the map. And here's our map size. If I do the resize drawing area command here, you'll see that it is at the default size of 1000 by 800 miles, and I'll just do half of that in each direction, so that gives me a map size that I can normally quite comfortably finish in a mapping session. And then I can zoom in, and you don't see much of a difference. The only main thing is that the bitmap file style is not scaled, and therefore it appears larger here on the smaller map. That's the big difference from doing this size change at this point as opposed to doing it in the map method when you create a new map, because that will scale everything. And so basically at first look, a 1,000-mile wide map will look the same as a 500-mile wide map. It's just the measurements that are different. Here, if I do this, maps on the symbols on this will appear larger because they have not been scaled together with the map border. Okay, and now let's do a nice little coast. I'm thinking there's quite a lot of Oriental stuff in the new annual issue, symbol structures for settlements for Oriental type settings. So I'm going to do a desert type setting, something North African, Near Eastern, perhaps. We'll see how this goes. And so I'm going to click the default landmass button, and I'm thinking I want sea on the north and west edges of the map, and so the main landmass body here to the south and the east. And I want a river to feature, so I'm gonna think about where my river mouth should be. And there we are. Attach the map border to the corners by clicking just beyond the map corner here. Right click to finish, and there's my landmass. A refresh shows the map border here. And I'm seeing that pretty much by accident. My coastlines here are a little bit cut off at this with the bay size, so I might think if I want to adjust that a little bit, just to make it this bit a little nicer, I could just make the bay a little bit wider, or alternatively I can mess with the scaling of the coastlines a little bit. So what I'm going to take a look at that on the land sheet, and the edge striping, that's the sheet effect that does these coast outlines. If I edit this and see this, it does have a size. And if I just make this a little bit smaller, so just say 1.2 instead of 1.5, then the outlines get a little bit contracted, and we have a much nicer little lines here on the bay. This looks better too. So I think this is just a little adjustment that is nice for this type of map. But what I also want to add is some islands. So I go back to my landmass tool and just add a few little islands to my map. Don't need that much. Refresh, and there we've got the outlines again. And again, perhaps don't like that these things touch exactly here, but in this case I'm not sure going to adjust the size. It's that I'm just going to move the islands a little bit out, so I get a gap between these two coastlines. Yeah, I've got a comment there from Hunter Greenos about where the map edges are located. That they're mostly on the northwest coast, northwestern coasts, with the and this is habit. It's clearly habit, and it is true that I tend to add very often on the same edges. But this is very clearly comes from my basic inspiration for map making from the Middle-earth map of Tolkien, with the sea on the coast, with the sea on the western edge. This is just deeply, deeply ingrained in my imagination that I can't really shake it. I do tend to, especially if I've got more time and do maps for the annuals and stuff, I do try to shake it up occasionally and do changes, but more often than not, I fail at that. And that the inspiration for Middle-earth comes obviously from the European kind of mindset of the ocean to the west, and where Tolkien was inspired from. So it is clearly a cultural bias too, and I apologize for that, but that's just a fact of life. All right, so I've got my coastline down. I can add a little bit more of darker sea areas, a bit of darker sea contour. I'll grab the tool for that and just add a few spaces off from the coast where I want my sea to be a little bit darker. And here as well. And there, it's just a small, subtle effect, but it does give the whole thing a little bit more character. All right. And yes, Hunter, I agree, it's not a problem. It's just an interesting fact. It's something to keep in mind. If you're aware of that and are aware of your cultural biases, they are not half as bad. All right, so next up I want to do a river, and if I'm doing rivers on a map that also features deserts, I always think of the Nile as of the archetypical the river that runs through desert areas with the fertile valley just alongside it. And with that comes the idea of the delta. So I'm thinking I might add a river delta here, a nice one. So let's zoom in a bit and right-click the river drawing tool. I want to see my choices, therefore if I left-clicking, I'll just get the default river tool. If I right-click on the tool, I get all the different choices, and I'm going to start with the large river as the start. And I'm just going to put my delta here, start here, and draw my river all the way to the eastern map edge. There we are. As you can see, it's the cutout tool that just the big area gets cut from the landmass, and we do see the sea texture beneath. Comment from Sue whether that's Asa crying. No, that's just actually kids playing outside, playing on the street and being noisy as kids should be. All right, so let's grab the river drawing tool and do some medium river channels here to build a delta from the whole thing. Asa hasn't shown herself yet, so she's, I think, sleeping in the chair over in the other room. And for once, my speaking doesn't seem to rouse her from her slumber. Right, so I've got the main channels down, and then I'm gonna go for the small river things, zoom in a bit and build a bit more of a network of river channels. I'm always using the F9 tool here to connect the channels to the main river and to each other. For the coast, I tend to just draw the river a little bit outside, so I'm sure it clips the landmass border or the coastline correctly. Because it's cut out, you won't see the purple bit that extends beyond the actual landmass in the final view. There we are. That looks nice. And what you can also always do for a delta, add a few smooth lakes alongside the whole thing. Here we go. Actually, perhaps put a larger lake in the center of the whole thing. And the other nice thing about the cutout method of doing the rivers, you can just draw everything across over top of each other. And you get the coastal outlines automatically. And don't have to bother about anything about that actual drawing all these individual pieces and the sheet order and everything. There's one downside, of course, with the cutout river drawing tool method, and I'm going to show you that because I want to add a swampy area in the delta area, and that's one of the new tools that comes with the Dune issue. I've got a new swamp. I think I might have forgotten to import the... Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it's just the background. No, it's actually... The texture is in there, so that's fine. Okay. Just wondering why this is... to have an outline in there. Actually, no, that's the wrong texture for the style. I might not have installed my annual issue on top of this here, and I'm using the old fill style for that because I've got one new texture for the swamp with symbols included, basically. Let me have a quick look whether I do have this in here already. Swamp? No, I don't. I don't have the new fill in here. How to fix this? The easiest fix for stuff like that is always to import a existing map with the fill styles that are missing into an ongoing map. So what I'm going to do is draw, insert file, and I'm going to look. This is the example map, which should have that included. I'm going to open it. I'm not going to actually insert it because I don't want the stuff in here. I just want the fill style. And if I take a look at the bitmap files now, I should have another swamp fill. Yes, there it is. There's the swamp fill now. And if I go for the drawing tools, default swamp, and there you see now the fill. It looks like it's supposed to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and I'm just gonna got my own sheet for this, terrain swamp, and draw my swamp area where I want it to be. Trace the coastline here, all the way to here, a bit along the river, and the downside, as you can see, because the rivers are actually cutouts on the landmass, this new terrain type just covers them up. One option is obviously to do all the little small individual pieces between the rivers, but that is kind of difficult, or at least labor intensive. The easier method here, though a little bit more technical, is to add the river cutout to this terrain swamp sheet. So first off, we're going to do that. We've got the color key effect here from the land sheet. We're going to copy this, go to terrain swamp, paste this and move it to up so it's the first in the list, and no change. Yeah, the problem is that the river is actually still only on the land sheet. It does also need to be on the swamp sheet to have the cutout there. How do we do that? We simply copy the river to the sheet. Copy to sheet by layer water rivers. Okay, see that grabs everything, all the river channels and the lakes and the main river. Do it and put it on terrain swamp. And since there's a cutoff effect there now as well, it also cuts out the swamp fill. And this is much more like what we had in mind. We can now see the river again probably and have a nice extended marshy area in our delta. All right, here we are, and now we are gonna do a little more the fertile river valley. I'm gonna go for actually here now. What I could do, I've still got the old swamp fill style, and I'm just gonna switch to the, actually I'm gonna use the extract properties command on my terrain swamp, and then I've got the fill style here, and now I'm gonna just do this without the swamp fills alongside the river. And do this to indicate the fertile river area that will be made fertile by the season's flooding. If you do have time and the interest, do look up the Nile River Valley and the its seasons and the river flooding and stuff if you haven't already. It's a very interesting and highly enlightening topic. Okay, send back. Oh, it looks I've ended up on another sheet after all. Terrain swamp. No. What I've done now. Why is my swamp not applying the correct sheet effects? Okay. Now I am confused. What have I done? Color key, edge fade. Okay, that was weird. I didn't change anything. It was just in the cache, the image cache not updating correctly. All right. So, not sure what happened there, but a refresh did take care of it in the end. All right, so we've got the river valley, and then I do want to add a bit of desert. Or I might actually go first for some mountains and see where I put my mountain chains. I'm thinking I might work a little bit with the varicolor symbols here in this map. Let's see whether we can create a nice, perhaps a bit more yellowish mountains. Well, it doesn't look too bad. I do want to put in a mountain range here at the bottom. So let's have a look. Let's always like to add some large mountains first. We are at the default symbol size, just checking that I haven't done anything wrong there. And here in the corner, and we do have this nice new symbol of the roc's nest, which which I want to add, and also a mountain symbol with a pass. Could add here. And then I'm just going to grab the normal mountains and build up the mountain range here. Go. Oh, that's actually blocking the pass here, which I did not want to do. Go, and I'm gonna offset the mountains a little bit with the hills, and again I can just use the varicolor symbols to blend the two more than if I just use the normal hills now. Alright, and finally I'm gonna do a quick symbols, sort symbols and map. Here we go. And to go on the other side, I'm also gonna add some mountains up here. And for these, I'm gonna use some of the new mountains. We've got some smoother mountains, something perhaps representing older mountains which have been smoothed down more by erosion and geological factors. So I'm gonna use these to build a bit of a mountain range up here. But again, we're gonna use the same base color for the varicolor symbols, so they match the overall theme, and also add a few hills. Also always add a few individual hills in places where we don't have a mountain range, but just a little bit of hilly terrain. There we go. Okay, and that's it for what I want for the mountain ranges at the moment. I've got the mountain background terrain here, but that is pretty much set up to work nicely with the brown mountains. So I'm not gonna add this to these here. I think they blend very nicely in this yellowish background, and so I'll leave them at that. All right. Now I do want to have a look a little bit at the desert stuff and add some desert terrain here. Let's give even a little more yellow, and I'm going to use this to blend the whole thing with the river, or frame the river valley in the desert here. And they should go all the way to the mountains. So I'm going to do this behind these symbols here. A little bit of distance from the coast, and I could now this is if I do this separate from the river, won't have the problem with covering the river, and it's only two pieces, so I'm gonna do it this way here. Make sure this is underneath the swamp sheet in a moment. There we go. It is already, and then I can do the same here on the other side. I could of course also have done this in one go and copied the color key effect to the desert sheet as well. It's really a matter of taste. Neither works much faster than the other, so I'll just leave the setup here and just add the tint of desert up there. And then I can do things like add rocky areas and waste areas here. So let's make the northern side of the desert more of a rocky area. And for the other side, just to give it a little bit different character, I'm gonna add the wastes fill. Actually, I'm thinking I want to extend this further so it also goes below the mountains. There we are. Okay, see the comment just there that the technically Australia doesn't have mountains by geographical definition. I didn't know that. Okay, so the Blue Mountains are not technically mountains. Interesting. Didn't know that. All right. There we are with the. I'm gonna add a little bit more rocky area with the filled symbol, fill here under this side. There we are. Very good. And now we can go for some civilization, I guess, and load the structures catalog and have a look down here for the new Oriental symbols. And let's start off with a big city, not in the delta. That's not going to be very suitable to large city building until you've got major drainage and things going on and damming of the rivers, because in the delta normally the channels change a lot and will undermine all your foundations and buildings, so it's difficult to build permanent and safe cities in there until we get to large irrigation projects. So I'm going to grab the city symbol and just put it here up the river a little bit, and I want my city even more larger and more impressive, imposing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of the other symbols for that and combine them a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this domed temple behind the rest. So there you can see, and I can add a little bit of the village symbol and make it even a bit smaller so it fits the better here in front. Same with this. Don't want it too small, then the line width will look wrong. So this works fine. And we might even put a little bit more temple here, set to normal. I'm going to do this, yeah. I'm going to add this and going to sort the symbols, sort the symbols and map, all of them. There we go. By Sue's suggestion, we've introduced a command to sort all symbols and map for CC4 actually, and that's why it's not in this. Here I've got it in the menu, but I haven't set up the macro for that. Therefore, I don't think it's going to work in this map. I should put that in CC3 Plus as well, because that's just an easy macro to add. Very useful. Thank you, Sue, for the suggestion. And so I don't have to always select everything. But that's not in here now at the moment. All right, so I've got the big city. I do want to have a river bridge over the river here. That's one of the other things that regularly flooding huge river like the Nile makes very difficult. That's bridge building. That's why you'd not have a bridge across the Nile in all of Egypt in the ancient times. And so, but we could think that here, with help of magic, perhaps we do have a little bit of an exception. And let's have a look for our bridge symbols. Didn't we have a bridge in the first issue as well? Yes, there is. Then we've got a small bridge in the new one. Let's have a look and actually change our color again, because I don't want the gray bridge. I do want a yellowish bridge here, and that looks quite nice. Might make it a bit smaller perhaps, so we can put that here. And there, see, we can, it's not quite exact the same color, but near enough so that it matches the rest quite well. And then let's build a little bit more here. Put actually, well, we could put 2 obelisks here at the side of the bridge, and then put a few pyramids on the other side. Should I set this to normal size again? Put this here. I think it could be a little bit smaller here, and this map is specifically because I want to add a few few pyramid symbols and a couple small ones. There we go. Okay, so much for that. Now we do need a little bit of a road and stuff going up the river, of course. So let's add a town up here on that river band, and then a few villages along the way and hamlets. So we show the importance of the river valley for civilization, something here near the delta as well. And then let's grab, I think this road's at the bottom there, yeah, the road. And let's start here, go through the city, across the bridge, along the river valley, all the way to the town, and on to here. And then let's add a path, smaller version here on this side of the river. Something going through the desert here. All the way to here. All right. And one thing I wanted to show you, which I've introduced with this, and which I wanted to add more of, the map I was inspired by had these little things all around the map, like little tiny squiggles and drawings showing animals and things. So I've done something a bit similar. I've done some cave drawing, cave painting style symbols, which we could just add here to the map. Mirror them and just put little tiny things in the map here. So, or if you're some cattle here in the river valley, okay, and therefore I just add a little bit of character to the map. Same or similar thing basically is if you go to the vegetation catalog, you can just grab the little grass symbols here and add them to an area, just to not have all just the plain bitmap filled somewhere. Yes, that's right, so I am enjoying my new drawing pens quite a lot. Alright, so we've got the civilization down here, but we probably need something a little bit more to the edges. So to show a different culture, different nations, we could go back to our old symbols and add a stronghold here, together with a village perhaps. There we go. And a tower. go. And then also go for a path. And this here. And reach our big city from the north. Another thing that comes with the new style is a little bit more ships and boats and sea creatures. So we can just add a couple boats here to show a harbor. Got the questions is how I will be adding the all symbols map, sort all symbols map to everybody. That's can be done by updating the macros, the macro file, and if I do that, you can just run the latest update again, and that will update the macro file and download that from the web, basically, to get the latest version, which will include the new command. And here we do need a little bit of a port on the this map here. So let's have a lighthouse here. Here's again, if I want to put something on a hill, I do need to use a new sheet, because otherwise the sword symbols command will just pop the lighthouse behind the hill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to symbols front and put the lighthouse there, and that way it's going to stay on the top of the hill. And then let's add a village together with the hamlet symbol. I was like combining these things to make it look a little bit different, to give different sizes of settlements, so I can easily combine the village and the town to make something in between to a town and a city, and so on. Just a little bit more variety between the symbols, because I can't draw every individual city as its own symbol, or at least not without a lot of work. Alright, so I do want to add a little bit more of a road here. Alright, and then let's have a look at our vegetation symbols. We've got some new stuff in there. We've got palm trees, and we've got some jungle trees, and we've got swamp symbols. Oh, I think I put a symbol there that is not want to put there. For the coast, I do have some new some symbols, little squiggle symbols as well. Like you can put some fish here. Got a couple of different symbols for that, as well as a whale symbol, or a couple whale symbols actually. And then there's some sharks. You can't have a proper sea without sharks, can you? And then symbols for reefs, which I don't think I need here specifically, but what I want is some sea monsters. I've got some squid-like thingy here, which I'm going to put just down here. And then a sea serpent, which you can build in different sizes. So you can grab just the head, and then it's got a couple different body pieces and a tail to end it up. Of course, you can use them all individually, but they also make one big long sea serpent that way. Crocodile, alright. See whether I can do a crocodile. Alright, so but I was going for the new symbols. What I've not done, which I just noticed here, which I might fix in the future, is I've not put the new terrain drawing tools in the catalog. So they're not listed here, but if you click on the all terrain drawing tools, you'll see that I've got a jungle terrain drawing tool and a palm forest drawing tool. And what we have is a new forest dens drawing tool. This is a tool that does not use the just scattering of individual symbols, but which builds a whole compact forest from a different set of symbols, like in the Max Schley style originally and our older styles. And I don't think there's proper room on this map to use that. I'm just going to show you quickly, so that is just not the difference between the sets. If I do this here, see, it fills the whole area with tree symbols. It's all covered. And if I just use the deciduous forest tool here, it will just scatter the symbols and a little gap between them. What you like better is up to you. You can use both on the same map, obviously. Normally on these types of maps you need to scatter a few more trees around to make the edges not as straight. But that's up to you. How do you want to use that? Yeah, I'm gonna remove this for the moment. Oh, okay, I do need to delete this because probably autosave and interrupt the undo. And removed too much. I removed the waste type fill prior. Not this. There we go. And that's how it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the palm forest tool and just outline the area here. Put that a little bit behind the mountains. Go. And then I'm going to do the good old sword symbols on the map. All of them. And do a little bit more. Oh, I shouldn't have done the sorting already. I should do it at the end. That way I don't need to do it as often. Here we go. And then I'm just going to put in a few individual palm trees. And this way you've got a nice tropical looking coast, or subtropical. Always also good to scatter some palm trees along the river valley, because they'll probably have some trees there for fruit and dates and stuff. Right, and if we go north and here, say the climate is beginning to change a little bit, we can use some of the jungle trees here. Or we could use the jungle trees to the south. Say, we're going to just start off going to a more forested area here along the edge of our map. See, the screen shots those off nicely. And up here we're gonna go for some deciduous trees. So here I'm gonna do a little bit of filling in, not really necessary, but just to show the tool, and then just scatter some individual trees around. We also what I tend to forget is the islands. And if they just are plain and don't contain anything, they tend to look a little bit boring. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a little bit of stuff to them. I can also add some of the special symbols that come with the latest issue of the annual. Here I'm going to go for some palm trees. Don't want to fill them up too badly. just a couple symbol on an island that will look fine. And then I'm gonna have a look. Structure, something else I wanna add. I've got the Sphinx. I haven't used the Sphinx. I can't do a Nile area without a Sphinx. So we're not gonna put this just as next to the pyramids like it would be in Egypt, but instead I'm gonna mirror this. Oop, where did it go? Put it in the desert here somewhere. There we go. And now we would start labeling our map, I guess. So let's have a quick look here. Let's put a compass rose on first. Could put this here or here in the sea. I think it's better suited here in the sea. And then the scale bar. That's going to be 100 kilometers, so that's going to be fine. Or is it? Yes, I am at 1, so it's going to be 100 kilometers. Yeah, about right. Put it here. I'm going to put 500 in. There we are. And now we would start labeling the map. So let's turn to a dark color, set our sheet to text. That's not strictly necessary. But what we're going to want to set manually is the layer. So I'm going to go for those text labels. And we can put in labels here for a big city. And make this a little bit smaller. Elephant. Yeah, the elephant does have some Cthulhu vibes on him. If you, my artistic abilities to depicting actual animals or people is just all right. It's fine. It says like elephant, so you can. If you know that's supposed to be elephant, I think you can see the elephant in there. All right. And then I want to keep this size here. Put this here. Right. You'll notice that I'm using some actual Egyptian names here on the cities and stuff. It's just because my brain is kind of empty and can't think of original names at the moment. So I'm just gonna steal some actual place names. Oh, bottom there. Perhaps spelled slightly differently than you might see it occasionally. And go. We go. And of course, I don't know. Actually, I should. It's a bit larger again because it seems to be a more important place. and I do need a little bit of a title on the map. So what we're gonna do, I think for once I'm gonna put it outside of the map border, just to show you how this goes. So let's say, let's call it the River Kingdom. Or let's make it a little bit of the ancient River Kingdom. Align it to center bottom. Make it larger. Oh, I've got a misspelling in there, or I see it. I'm going to fix it in a sec. I'm going to turn on snap to find the exact center here. There we go. And you'll see that we've got a little problem because it's behind our screen that screens the map border, so any symbols are not visible from the map border. But this is easily fixed by just moving up the screen so it becomes before the text sheet, and then we've got the text sheet text showing. Probably it's not going to be a problem because we're not normally extending any text beyond the map border, so it's fine. And that's for fixing text. Easiest thing is normal to use the numeric edit, because if you use that, oh no, actually that's stupid. Oh, actually, I just hit the wrong thing. So here we go. No, I can't hit this text somewhere. There we are. And because that brings up the edit text function if you use this on the text entity. There we go. And there's my spelling fixed. And that's our map. And we've almost done with our hour, and I'm quite happy with the little map that I came up of our Egyptian themed River Kingdom map. All right, and okay, excellent. I'll share the map on the forum as usual, and I hope you liked our little map making session tonight. There's not going to be a live map making session next week because it's a holiday here, and I'll be off that day. So we'll see each other in a couple of weeks' time, I guess. Hope to see you then, and until then, keep safe, keep healthy, and keep up the mapping. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel, and check out our forum and Facebook group. All the best. Bye-bye.